Alright, so before we get this video underway, another big plug out to Clay Emu. We're making a live stream happen tonight on his YouTube channel, 10 p.m. PST. Go ahead onto youtube.com/ I believe it's just Clay Emu. If not, Canuck Clay. He'll be out there on the stream. I'll be out there joining him, and it's going to be a good time. So go out there, end off your weekend with some familiar Canucks talking faces, but still. This entire thing that we're making a video about today is kind of daunting to me. I kind of feel like, you know, Gorillaz, the musical group with the Blur guy in it? Yeah, that song, Clint Eastwood. The beginning of that song, that's kind of what's going on in my mind right now. Just repeatedly in my head, I'm like, dude, are we seriously talking about Conor Garland in trade conversations now? Okay. I think I kind of have to calm down a little bit because obviously my Gorillaz cover is nowhere near anywhere in the realm of good, but I do think it kind of sums up the way that I feel about the situation right here. So, yesterday during the Canucks and the Flames game, that in which I kind of very much had a bad time watching. I think everybody kind of did. It was a bad game, was it not? We had ourselves Elliotte Friedman on 2 separate intermissions go out there and talk about Conor Garland. Actually, no, scratch that. He spoke about this during the second period intermission with Vancouver and Calgary. He also talked about this on the second period intermission between Edmonton and Montreal. The first time it was earlier because Montreal and Edmonton, that game was earlier on, so that's the first introductory piece we had to this Conor Garland thing. And when you go over the video of what Friedman says about the entire situation, he talks about the Vancouver Canucks and he talks about their potential trade chips. This is a summary from NHL Watcher. Friedman at the intermission says that the Canucks have a number of forwards outside of JT Miller that they are discussing with teams. He doesn't think it includes Pettersson or Horvat. Conor Garland is indeed one name. The Rangers, the Bruins, the Flames are interested, and New Jersey is in there too. That is what he said during the intermission for Edmonton and Montreal. Later on in the night, Friedman revisited those thoughts during the Vancouver-Calgary intermission, where he kind of started to bring up a little bit more specificity into these ideas, and in particular, he said he wonders about the New Jersey Devils and one Conor Garland. So, let's talk today about Conor Garland, what kind of player he is, and what Jim Benning ultimately did with the Canucks when he pulled off this trade. Because right away, taking a look at Conor Garland, you take a look at his game log. Okay, the guy has 3 points in his last 10 games and 1 point in his last 5. He's got 24 points in 39 games this season, which is really great. But he has gone a little bit cold, even though his impact and the presence that he has on the ice has been felt pretty sustainably throughout the past few games he has had. Conor Garland is nothing short of an absolute madman out there. He is always going out with a really strong work ethic, always trying to get under the skin of his opponents. He's very shifty, he's very small, but they all work in cohesion to make a player profile that is one of the most dynamic and most dangerous players on the ice at any given moment. You could go out there and debate that his lack of production recently has been a product of circumstance. Oh, he's not playing in the top power play. Oh, he's not getting any ice time, this and that. Oh, he's playing with line mates that are not allowing him to go out there and succeed. But either way, Conor Garland, especially for a period throughout this season, was seen as one of the more valuable players on this Canucks forward core. Now, before we go any further, a big shout out to the sponsor of today's video. It is indeed Manscaped. I get it. It's a new year, new you. How about going with resolutions you can actually keep this year? Well, Manscaped is here to help out, and it all starts with their below-the-waist grooming and hygiene products. Join 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get in on the action. Use code LEGOROCKS for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com, as this year, the Performance Package 4.0 will take you to the next level. Inside the Performance Package 4.0, you'll find the signature Lawnmower 4.0, the best electric trimmer on the market with advanced skin-safe technology. Your routine, though, is not complete without the Crop Preserver and the Crop Reviver, not to mention the ear and nose hair trimmer, travel bag, and anti-chafing boxer briefs, all combined with the brand new Ultra Premium Body Wash. It's cologne infused with aloe vera and sea salt to keep your skin feeling clean, nice, and moisturized. Be sure to travel to manscaped.com and use code LEGOROCKS for 20% off and free shipping. That's code LEGOROCKS for 20% off and free shipping. Cheers to 2022, and cheers to Manscaped. Now, as good as he has been, the The fact is, the Vancouver Canucks acquired this guy, 25 years old, 5'10", 165, signed to a pretty good contract extension of $4.95 million a year till 2026. They acquired him in that Oliver Ekman-Larsson trade, with Beagle, Roussel, Eriksson, and the first-round picks, and all the stuff that was in between there. The thing is, the Vancouver Canucks automatically departed with a first-round pick that was used to select Dylan Guenther, who is a very good prospect. Sure, Connor Garland is a good player coming back the other way, but you also have to look at OEL. OEL, for as good as he has been, is still a very overpaid defenseman on this team. He's making $7.2-something million against the Canucks cap, because you gotta remember there is retained salary on that deal from the Arizona side. And that contract is just so bad that even though OEL is not a bad player, he is not worth the contract in the slightest. And so, Jim Benning, even though he did try to make this one trade in a last-ditch effort to save his job and do all this, it ultimately didn't work. And now Jim Rutherford, taking a look at this organization, has to come in here and clean up the garbage because, yes, Connor Garland is a good player. Yeah, Connor Garland is probably worth a little bit more than the contract he has signed. But Jim Rutherford is going to go out there and try to make this team the best that it can be, and if that entails a trade involving somebody like a JT Miller or Connor Garland or anybody else who is not named Bo or Elias, then I kind of get intrigued as to where Rutherford is going to go. It is just a suggestion that Friedman brought up, that maybe he wonders about the Devils and Garland, and when I think about the New Jersey Devils, I start to think, okay, this is a team that really does have themselves a home for small, aggressive, very feisty forwards. Obviously, Jack Hughes is on this team, and while feisty might not be the right word to describe the way that he plays, he is as shifty and he is as agile as a Connor Garland is, debatably even more. Jesper Bratt is also on this team. He's another small guy who has just exploded offensively this season, so it's very good to see what he has done. And based off of how the New Jersey Devils have really come to enjoy these types of players, I could totally see why a guy like Connor Garland would be on their radar. It's just, from my perspective and the Vancouver Canucks, you win more games with players like Miller and like Garland in your lineup than without. It's just, when you take a look at how Rutherford has approached building this team and this season as a whole, he did say he wants to focus on more draft picks. He does say things like, yeah, there's still more work to do, and we can't go out there thinking that this team is ready to contend just yet. And so, that makes some very tough decisions probably on the crosshairs here. We're probably going to have to see some guys get moved that we might not want to see get moved, guys that objectively make the team worse when they depart the team, but depending on the market, depending on what the Canucks could get in return and what Rutherford and co. could do with that return, it does make me very intrigued as to seeing where this team will go in a post-Benning era. Now, when it comes to the New Jersey Devils and what they could expect to give up for a Connor Garland, let's be real here, I honestly think there's a pretty good market for this kind of guy, just because we know how valuable he is. If you do trade away a Connor Garland, I hope you at the very least get yourselves like a first-round pick that is in the top 10, because that's kind of what the Canucks gave up, 9th overall to Arizona to get Connor Garland. Sure, there was OEL and Beagle and Roussel and Eriksson added on there too, but Connor Garland for the 9th was kind of the balancing act, I guess, that made that trade worth it when you combined it with all that other stuff. But either way, you have yourselves a New Jersey team that has itself a pretty bad record this season. I don't really think they're going to go out there and make the playoffs and make a big impact in the postseason. The East is pretty solidified right now in their playoff picture, and New Jersey is unfortunately not there. They are last place in the Metro right now, so that is a very high-tier first-round pick, should you get that. But there are indeed some other players on the Devils system that I do think can bring value to the Vancouver Canucks, especially if you want to look at defensemen. I know it was Patrick Johnston who mentioned in an article, I think earlier today, that Damon Severson and Ty Smith could potentially be options the Canucks could look at, especially since Rachel Dory, Vancouver Canucks analytic person now, was working with the Devils when they got Smith in the first place, so right away there's somewhat of a connection over there. Same with Emily Castonguay and Alexis Lafreniere. Yeah, I know, it's kind of connection city over here in Vancouver and people trying to link players to certain individuals within the Canucks organization now, but Connor Garland being on the trade block, obviously It would be preferable to not trade this guy because we know how good he is, but depending on what kind of return the Vancouver Canucks and Rutherford could get, my goodness, what the heck am I saying? Not Rutherford. He's not the GM. It's Patrick Allvin. Man, I need to get used to saying that. Patrick Allvin. Patrick Allvin. Rutherford is just the guy on top of him that is going to be probably mentoring him and giving him some advice as to how to do this entire GMing thing. But either way, sure, Miller, Garland, these guys are good players that make the Canucks better, but depending on where Allvin and Rutherford see this team going into the long-term future, we could see whether or not the trade returns, the value that teams would be willing to give up for these players would be more beneficial instead. It's all up in the air. So I want you to tell me in the comment section below, what do you think the Vancouver Canucks could, would, or should get from New Jersey in a Connor Garland trade? It was Friedman, gosh darn it, Elliot Friedman, who brought this up again yesterday. It's why we're even talking about it here. So thanks, Friedge, I guess. Let me know in the comments your thoughts about this Garland thing. Also, check out Clay Emu's channel later tonight. I'm going to be making an appearance on there, so I'm looking forward to seeing you all. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.